Hello and welcome to week 5 of the winter session. I know week 3 and 4, that was a lot of stuff. Most people are keeping up pretty well. But if you're a little bit behind, this is the week to catch up. And this is also the week to look at what's been submitted, what's been graded. Send me a message on your notes channel if there's something that is missing or doesn't look right in the grade book, like the grade doesn't match up to what you think you got. This is the week to let me know. So send me a message on your note channel, start it with the tag grade check, and then just list it out so I can go check that off. Because I'll tell you, I've been pretty busy too, trying to keep track of all you guys turning stuff in. So we're almost there though. We're in week 5. We have one more week to go. We've got a couple of big projects this week, just like every week, and we got some interesting topics. So this is the week that we're going to take a stroll through memory lane. And if you know a little bit about computers, you know what I just did there. I've had the movie review open for a week or two just to let you have the chance to choose your movie to get started on that. But if you haven't already done that, this is the week it's actually assigned. So this is not a preview week. This is the actual week. So we'll look at the movie review topic in just a minute. There's also a spreadsheet topic. And I know that a lot of people actually in the very beginning mentioned that you were interested in learning about spreadsheets. So this is the week, and we're going to do it with some really basic grocery store math. I mean, we don't have a lot of time. It's not a class on spreadsheets, but I think if you kind of follow the bouncing ball, you'll end up with a little bit of knowledge that you didn't have before. We have a constructive feedback project. So on the presentations that were submitted in week 3, I've made a playlist. And everybody, even if you didn't submit a presentation, everybody has the opportunity to give feedback. And it's a big project. It's worth 100 points. Like, when do I do a 100-point project aside from the other one I'm going to talk about today? But give feedback, even if you didn't make a video, because this is a good chance to make up some points if you need to make up some points. And then finally, we have part 5 of the annotated bibliography. Yay, reliable sources is coming to an end. And so this is the last part of it. And we'll talk about that. So let me do a screen share. Let me show you a few things, and then I'll just let you get going, get busy on stuff. So the video you're watching right now will be here. You can't see it right now, but always, always, always take advantage of that checklist. If I can tell who is actually following this, because they seem to be doing much better. And it literally goes down and outlines everything in the chapter. And I did something new. I added this time conversion because I've been putting about how many hours of video. That's not counting the reading, that's not counting anything else, but it just gives you a benchmark of about how much video is involved in a given week. I did some conversions because I was curious, like, well, so obviously, clearly, if you watch it at double speed, you'll have half as much time watching video, right? Yeah. But here's some other conversions. I usually watch it at 1.5 or 1.75. And so you can cut down your video time, watch it as fast as you can without losing comprehension. So that's why I don't watch it at double speed, because then I start to lose what I'm following. But take advantage of the checklist. It gives you some context. It gives you some tips. There's things to pay attention to. It's a useful tool, and make your own copy. If you go just a regular copy, you can't change anything. If you make your own copy, you can update your status. So always open the checklist. But let's look down at this section about computer history. This is a really interesting chapter for me, or section for me, because I feel like you need to know where we came from to get an idea of where we're going. And so much has changed in technology in such a short amount of time that you almost can't predict. Some things have come out in technology just in the last 2 months that are taking the world by storm. And 3 months ago, nobody knew about it. So this is why it's so interesting to learn about technology. So what I've done is I put together a slideshow for you. I should have opened this up in another window. But there's a slideshow, and here's my recommendation. My recommendation, because there's a lot of video in the slideshow, and they're interesting. They're things you probably will want to watch, things you hadn't heard about, things you didn't know about. Open the link to the slides directly and go through it that way. because that'll make it easier for you to see things, easier for you to hear the audio. And that's the tip I have for you down here. So as you go through this, you'll see that there's several different things. There's a tech tip about the audio. There's table of contents, what it will cover. And pretty much we start with counting on your fingers and we go all the way up to quantum computers. So it's a pretty big stretch. And there's about 2 hours of video in that slideshow. So that's actually a big chunk of the video for the week is in that. But I think you'll find that very interesting and useful. We have the movie review assignment, the actual assignment. Remember, you're going to pick a movie, and this is a creative project. Follow the details in the slides, the assignment slides, and then let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to clarify anything for you. There's a quiz that goes along with that week. Then in part 2, we're going to jump down to this database and spreadsheet chapter. So it's chapter 10. It's about databases, and our activity is going to be creating spreadsheets. But first off, I give you the spreadsheet curiosity. There's a couple of videos in there that demonstrate using spreadsheets in ways you wouldn't have thought of. One is an artist. One is to make an Etch-a-Sketch game. One is to actually illustrate how your cell phone is actually a spreadsheet. Who would have thought? So I think you'll find those fun. There are some tutorials from Google Drive or GCF Learn, I'm sorry, about using Google Sheets. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you go through the Google Sheet tutorial. Even if you think you're pretty proficient in using a spreadsheet, like if you've used Excel or some other spreadsheet, go through the tutorial. It won't take you that long, and it will make sure that you have a good common understanding of what you need to do. As an add-on, this is an optional one because one of the coolest things with spreadsheets is the fact that they match up with forms. So all of the forms you have filled out for my class, well, they'll feed into a spreadsheet. They don't have to, but once you link them to a spreadsheet, then you can do stuff with the data that gets submitted, like sort by name or sort by a certain question. There's all kinds of neat things you can do. So this is how to use Google Forms if you want to know more. That's not, a mandatory thing. And then this is an introduction to databases, a couple of really short videos that give you an overview of databases, and a spreadsheet sort of like a flat database, but a real database is three-dimensional. And if you don't know what that means, you probably ought to watch those 2 videos. Then we're coming down here to our project, the shopping spree project. There's a video that goes along with that. So I'm not going to go into detail, but I will tell you, pay attention to the video. What kills people on this project, they get it all set up, they fill in all the details, and then they don't use the spreadsheet to calculate. They just use, I don't know, the calculator on their phone or something and type in the numbers. Well, that defeats the whole power of a spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are amazing, but you got to let them do their job. And so that's where the GCF Learn tutorial will come in handy. And that's where the video that I make comes in handy, because there's a whole column of stuff that you have to calculate. But I promise you, it's just like grocery store math. You want to buy 2 packs of gum and 3 Snicker bars. How do you figure that out? How do you figure out how much you're going to have to pay? It's that kind of thing. So this third part is using information correctly. And this is kind of an add-on to computer software, the chapter that we did. And it talks about copyright, especially now. It's a super hot topic right now with some of this technology that's been recently released, is what does copyright mean? And what does copyright mean in a digital age? So this particular one is an interesting resource because it's got a short video. So at least watch the short version. All right. This is a talk Lawrence Lessig gave. And if you don't know who he is, look him up. He is one of the founders of Creative Commons. He's an intellectual property lawyer. He's done some really interesting things like run for president one year. But he's giving a talk to the Swedish Parliament about this idea of copyright. So you can watch the short version. That's got some good details. If you have time, or play it in the background. I do this all the time. This is an hour long. I'm off doing other stuff, cleaning the house or whatever. And this is, you don't have to watch it particularly, but you might want to listen to it. And then he did a Q&A afterwards, about a 30-minute Q&A, and that is actually super interesting. So, but at least watch this first one. You don't have to watch all 3. These are some really good videos. Copyright Forever in a Day talks about poor George Lucas and what would happen without copyright. How would he feed his family? Um, Anyhow, there's just some really good stuff here for you. Katie and the Shark is actually a true story about 3D printed copyright and Katy Perry and the Super Bowl and how some guy got a subpoena for court because, anyhow, you just got to go read the story because I actually talked to the guy. So that's what that's all about. And then the final assignment, like the regular assignment, is this what I was talking about, this project constructive presentation feedback. Now, the playlist link is here. And what the playlist link will do is it lists out all the people that are in presented, that made presentations. So that's down on the bottom. There's a little link here about how to give constructive feedback. That is the actual video that's on the previous page. And then, it's being a little choppy. And then when you're ready, you submit comments to the feedback form. Now that's closed right now. That's closed until Tuesday because I gave the presenters an opportunity to actually be able to update their slides if they wanted to. They didn't have to. So we're going to give them till Tuesday at noon to get that done and make it ready for you to see. So we've got the Zoom chat sign up. We've got the movie review. We've got the project spreadsheet and a quiz. We've got, coming down here, the constructive feedback. And then last but not least, the annotated bibliography. There's a video that goes with that, so I'm not going to say a whole lot about it other than if you haven't done the other parts of the project, you can still do this project. It'll just be harder because you won't have feedback from all the other parts to make this better. But this project actually is like putting the Legos together, putting the puzzle pieces together. You're going to take, your topic, you're going to take your criteria, you're going to take your resources that you found and make a short bibliography. You're going to pull all that together. You're going to take submit one that we did last week. Feedback will be given back to you by Wednesday for that assignment. So you're going to take all these pieces and put them together. And there's an example document that shows you a good way to format it so that you don't miss anything. So I don't miss anything. This assignment is worth 200 points. So the project as a whole, when you add up all the pieces, I believe it's 360 points or 365 points. It's a lot. But I mentioned that in the beginning, that this was a big project. But even if you haven't done the other pieces, you have a week and a half to do this one. So you can still redeem some of the points and get this one done. And you're going to pull it all together. So if you've submitted other stuff, take advantage of the feedback I give you, especially on the submit one when you get that. And I'm being really, really detailed and hard on the submit one because I want to help you build an excellent evaluation because that's the heart of the whole project. The evaluation should be the most in-depth, largest part of each of your three sources that you're going to submit. So that's where we're at. One other thing, and it's right at the top of Moodle, I didn't highlight. Everything has to be turned in on Sunday. So please make sure you turn it in by Sunday. You have to run it by me. So if there's late stuff, you need to send me a list so we can make a plan because you can't turn in everything. There are some things that are off the table, but there are things you can still do. So let's come up with a strategy because I'll have some recommendations. You'll give me a list and say, here's what I'm missing. I'm going to say, if I were you, this is where I'd put your energy because it's the most value. So let's work together. Let's get everything due. There will be some things due next week that we're going to do, some really interesting projects. And I might actually open one up later in the week if I can get it set up, just to give you a little extra time. It has to do with virtual reality, and that's always a fun one. So have a really good week. I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys in Zoom. The Zoom sessions have been great.